My joy tonight in bringing this talk title, Love Thyself, has so much to do with what we've been talking about over the last 2 months since we started reading the book, Practicing the Presence by Joel Goldsmith. How do I know when I'm loving myself? How do you know? How does it outpicture? What are the clues? What are the things that you see made manifest that you can really point to and say, that just proves right there that I love myself, that I'm loving myself, that I'm caring for myself. Last week we talked a little bit about it, and Linda read a little bit about it today, this principle of love, that it is within us, but that even when we're loving our neighbor, really we're being gentle and peaceable. We bring peace and we're gentle. So how is it then that we are gentle with self, bringing peace, and having that peaceful presence within us? I mean, most people watch a lot of television, and if we allow the media, the magazines, if we allow society to tell us what it looks like when we're loving ourselves, most of us would be adorned with lots of gold jewelry, kind of like a Mr. T starter kit. You know, lots of diamonds. Show her your love with a new diamond. You know, or we'd be, you know, like really adorning ourselves with all this thing that society tells us are symbols of how we love ourselves, or, you know, being pampered or taking ourselves out. Getting the mani-pedi. The spa mani-pedi, or the massages, or things of that nature. And while this is all indeed some of the ways that we're taught to measure whether we're loving ourselves or caring for ourselves or being gentle with ourselves, lots of it is on the outside. What we do versus really taking a look at how we care for our minds, our bodies, our spirit, our soul. How we really love ourselves. You know, Joel Goldsmith talks about there's only one self, and that self is God, the God self, the selfhood that is God. And so, really, when we're talking about loving thy neighbor or loving thyself, we're really just talking about how we show up for God, how we love God, how we love this internal presence and power that is living in, through, and as our very life. And there's no mystery there that, hey, this power and this presence that is God is not necessarily saying, buy me roses and flowers and tomorrow's Valentine's Day and show me your love. As much as it continues to call us forth to know our life as this very life that God is. It continues to call us forth to be still. It continues to call us forth to recognize and to pause and to stop and see the beauty that is God, that is love, that is the manifestation of God throughout eternity and all around us. It is everywhere present. And yet, the challenges of today are, I got to get to work, I got to get the kids off to school, I have a paper to write, I have to do this, I have to do that, and we just kind of buzz around life, zoom, 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 from one thing to the other, without even recognizing that we're totally ignoring this indwelling presence that is love, this indwelling presence that is life, this indwelling presence that is joy and abundance and peace and wholeness and perfection, this indwelling presence that is our very life. And yet other things seem to be more important than taking the time or making the time or simply pausing for a moment to love up on self. To love thyself, to love this indwelling presence that is God. to recognize it as our very life. And I know, hey, we have to go to work, right? We have responsibilities. We have families. We have things that we get to do, really. Things that we get to do. And yet when we allow these things, these events, to come before loving self, and again, self meaning loving God, then it's almost like putting the cart before the horse. It is indeed simply not being gentle or even peaceable with our own self, with our own time. And so the hurdle that we get to jump over is the way I want to put it today is let's put out the welcome mat for ourselves. You know, whenever I go visit anyone and they have a mat and it says welcome, I feel good. It's like folks were thoughtful enough, or maybe if it's an afterthought, who cares? But, you know, when I walk in and there's a welcome mat, it says welcome, and that mat is there so that I might brush off the dirt of my travels and then enter a home and be there and be enveloped in love. I'd like us to think that love thyself is like that welcome mat. And see, what I'd like to tell us today is that welcome mat is really M-A-T. It's really what we can engage in to really love ourselves. Let's put the welcome mat out for ourselves and love ourselves. Love thyself. Love this God presence within us. And one of the ways that happens is with the M in mat. And it's meditation. I mean, it's really pretty simple. When we take time to meditate and to simply become quiet, whether it's for 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the afternoon or at night, when we take the opportunity to meditate, we are loving ourselves. We are loving that God presence within us. We're paying attention to it. We're giving it our devotion, our time. We're simply allowing our breath to take us into the portals of our hearts. We're allowing Spirit to speak to us in language in which we understand. We're simply allowing ourselves to know that our life is indeed that life that God is, and that there's nothing, no thing that can separate our life from the life that God is. But unless we put out the welcome mat for ourselves, we cannot indeed engage in this practice. So the M is meditation. It's really about slowing it down. Take a little time. You could even do it in your car. I love meditating in my car. I just arrived to a place, 5-10 minutes before I need to go in. I recline that seat and allow myself to simply meditate, to simply be in that presence, in that quiet, in that stillness, devoting some time and energy and just simply allowing my mind to focus on that one power, that one presence, that one life that is living in, through, and as me. And as we move into the A in our welcome mat, it's our affirmations. What are the things that we continuously tell ourselves? Now, I know we can have negative mind chatter all day long if we wanted to. And the problem with that is that if we listen and pay attention to it, we begin to believe it. And as we begin to believe it, then it becomes a law in our own life. That's the thing with our thoughts. That our thoughts, if we allow them to just continue and take over, they become our beliefs. And our beliefs become a law in our life. And whether we know it consciously or not, these laws in our lives rule us. How many things have you been told since you were a little kid that still rule your life? How many of us are still being informed by a 6-year-old? Right? And so the key for our affirmations is to allow these negative thoughts, this mind chatter, even when we pay attention to what people say, oh, it's flu season. Really? Like, is it? Do I buy into that? Or do I know that right here, right now, God is living its life as me, and that the wholeness and the health that God is, I am as well? See, I can take what people say, what society tells me. I could even take my own mind chatter, the negative mind chatter, and transform it to my affirmations. I have to put out that welcome mat, y'all. Love thyself. And my affirmations become a part of my life to where I begin to systematically and strategically and continuously tell myself the truth of my life. Because if I wait on somebody else to tell me the truth of my life, it might be a long time. And maybe not, because I like to surround myself around a lot of beautiful people, and people are constantly telling me how great I am, and I'm constantly telling people how great they are, because it's just the truth of who we are. But that's how those affirmations work. They help to neutralize the negative thoughts, the negative ideas, the messages that we continuously get from society about how we need to drive this car or have this, or that we're not tall enough, not pretty enough, that our hair's too kinky or too straight, it's got to be a little bit curly, or how we have to look like the super skinny supermodel on the cover of a magazine to catch a man or a woman. You know, like, really? The truth is that God is right where I am. God is right where you are. And when we use our affirmations, when we put out that welcome mat for ourselves, when we begin to love ourselves and engage in this practice of affirming our truth, we can easily and effortlessly begin to stand in that truth. And we can allow that God beauty that is within us to simply shine. Where people begin to look and go, are you on a new diet? Did you get some new makeup? What you do with your hair? Like, what's up? What's this glow? Who you dating now? You just got this glow. And I'm loving myself. I'm loving God within me. I'm paying attention. I put out the welcome mat for myself. I'm meditating and I'm affirming, and the T is treatment. Treatment is what we call prayer, affirmative prayer. I simply begin to engage on a regular basis, more than once or twice a day, but regularly begin to treat our affirmative prayer, where I recognize that there's one power, one presence, one life, that life is God. And I unify with that presence, meaning God created everything out of itself. Therefore, my life is that life that God is. That life that God is you, is your life. It's one. And then I state the truth. I continue to state the truth. The realization. Here's my truth. This is who I am. That which God is, I am, in this human form, beautifully and magnificently. That's how powerful our treatments are. And you know, they added thanksgiving. And now because I know that this is who I am, I just move into that place of gratitude that which I think I'm praying for, because I'm not really praying for anything other than I'm really allowing my mind to know this truth of who I am. And so I move into that place of gratitude and thanksgiving that all is well, that life is good, that we live in a friendly universe, that all things are coming together for a good. And then I can just release it. I can just let that prayer go. I could just let it be and just like tiptoe through the tulips and allow my life to unfold. But I have to put out that welcome mat. I have to love myself. I have to love this God presence within me. And the way that I'll picture that is by spending time in these practices, in my meditation, in my affirmation, in my treatment. You know, it's almost like dating. And I think Hafiz talks about courting God and being in this beautiful love, romantic relationship with God. And it's the same thing. I mean, you know, if you're attracted to somebody, you're constantly calling, what's up, baby? How you doing? Can we have dinner together? Can we spend some time? Sometimes we even begging, please, I need to see you badly. It's been 2 days. And imagine if we were to really, really love thyself, if we were to really love this presence and this power that is our life in that way, that we would court a lover, or that we want to see somebody who we haven't seen in so long. Imagine yearning. I can't wait to get home just so I can meditate. I can't wait to get home so I can get on my welcome mat and just do my treatment. I can't wait to just have a few minutes off of work so that I could just, be in this glory and just be in the sweetness and the goodness of recognizing that my life is that life of God. It gets good. It gets good. And when we begin to love ourselves, even just a little bit, then what we also find is that it just kind of spills over. Love is just kind of spilling over. Just, loving up on you, and let me love you too, woo, woo, woo. Because we recognize that there really is no separation. That while I am loving God within me, that really I'm loving God within you. That I see the truth about you and you. And that I recognize that it is all coming together for a greater good. And so it really is about our commitment and our dedication to really show up and love ourselves. To roll out the welcome mat for that indwelling presence that is our life. Sometimes it's easier to do things for others. And it's really time that we begin to recognize that we get to be loving, gentle. We get to bring peace into our own lives by having our welcome mat, by having our meditation, our affirmation, and our treatment. And so what we get an opportunity to do now is really go into some quiet time and to really begin to just allow ourselves to be in the moment. So as you clear your laps of whatever it is you have, just allow your eyes to close gently if you're comfortable. And with the in-breath, follow that in-breath, if you would, to your heart space. As we're practicing the presence of love, and as February is known to be the month of love, we're just going to take some time to love thyself. And again, follow that in-breath into our heart space, or as in some traditions, as they call it, the cave of our hearts. And if you can just simply imagine with me, as you're sitting there, that you begin to touch that indwelling presence of love that is right there where you are. We're simply touching, recognizing, being in the secret place of the Most High. And with each breath, we just simply allow ourselves to relax a little bit more. And we begin to simply remind ourselves that this is love. This right here is love. This is one of the ways I show that I love myself. By simply allowing myself to sit in the silence and allow this indwelling presence and power to speak to me in a language that I understand. we simply open up our hearts and our minds and become open and receptive to that eternal broadcast of the indwelling presence. And is in the silence that we hear and sense that indwelling love that we are.